No confusion. Apparently, I talked for about 20 minutes and nobody could hear me, and I didn't look over to check out the chat room like I should have. Finally, Hot Air Tom called me to tell me there was no sound. So I appreciate Hot Air Tom on that. So I'm starting the whole show all over again. If it's a duplication for some of you guys, I apologize. But today is Travel and Cruise Industry News Podcast for October the 10th, 2022. Top story this morning is Carnival Ecstasy sales on Final Cruise. Julia is moving along the coast of El Salvador. Low water levels cause a cruise cancellation. Galveston expecting a huge year. Norwegian introduced its own gin and beer. Curacao develops an app. The Disney Disney buying the global dream. What? Are you kidding me? And much more live here at 11. Today is National Angel Food Cake Day, so go get some angel food cake. If you're listening via the podcast, always welcome aboard. The numbers just keep going up with the podcast, so that's fantastic. You can always access the podcast via my blog, accessadventure.net, or wherever you get your podcast from to search for travel and cruise industry news. And up pops the fat travel guy. Anytime when you listen to the podcast, if you'd like to jump over to the video feed in the description, there's always a link. Click on it, and you can check out any pictures or clips that I may be using from members of Chillie Cruise family or from the show itself that day, or when I'm on a cruise. Any of those might happen. All right, before we get to the news, a couple things to cover. My buddy Rochelle, we've followed her all over Europe for about 3 months, it seems. She got on Harmony of the Seas yesterday. So I sent her to the casino cashier, Rachel, my buddy Rachel, to introduce herself and to give Rachel my love. So hopefully the two of them will get together, especially since Rochelle has been known to play a little bit in the casino. But anyway, that should be happening. Should have happened last night, maybe. I haven't heard from either one of them today. So the other thing we wanted to cover this morning, my buddy JJ Cruz, Jordan and Jarrett are in Tahiti, and they just absolutely found it to be breathtaking. So I'll just quickly flip through those in case we did that earlier. Nice pictures from Tahiti. They're, of course, on one of the bucket list cruises. Lovely. Maybe one day I'll get there. I'm working on some of those things now. My agent had me go through and start sending him a bucket list ideas so he can work on some of those things. So my buddy Libby out in Hawaii, Libby and Andy celebrated Canadian Thanksgiving in Hawaii. They got together with a bunch of other Canadians, I guess. And that's Libby and Andy. And of course, that's the lovely Lynn. She's on the Rotterdam with her worse half, Bubba. Hopefully, Bubba will be joining us one day this week on the show. We can talk about all the fantastic things going on with the Rotterdam and the 150th anniversary of Holland America. All right, I'll be back with today's news after a quick break from one of our network sponsors. All right, we got to start off with kind of a sad story in a way. Today is the last day the last sailing for the Carnival Ecstasy. She'll sail from Mobile today on the last trip, welcoming guests for Carnival Cruise Line. The voyage is a 5-nighter going to Cozumel and Progreso. The Ecstasy is the only Fantasy class ship to have a planned and pre-announced retirement. So they've had great anticipation for the vessel's last cruise. Some of the guests may be seeking to enjoy a ship they will never get a chance to sail again. Others may be saying goodbye to a favorite ship or one that holds some special memories. On board the last cruise is Carnival Cruise Line brand ambassador John Heald, who was cruise director on the Ecstasy in 1992, making this an especially nostalgic voyage for him. The current cruise director, Alice Sigler, very popular, promises the Ecstasy will go out with a bang. And they've got all kinds of events planned between John Heald and Alex Sigler. So that looks like a really fun send-off for the Carnival Ecstasy. All right, Julia. Now, I talked about Julia yesterday. I did a little video on Hurricane Julia that nobody, including the Weather Channel, was even mentioning. But anyway, it was a hurricane that landed in Nicaragua, went all the way across, and it's come out in the Pacific. Julia is moving west-northwest near the coast of El Salvador. Risk of life-threatening flash floods and mudslides will continue today through tomorrow. Tropical storm warning is in effect for the Pacific coast of Honduras and the coast of El Salvador. Tropical storm watch is in effect for the Pacific coast of Guatemala. The center of Tropical Storm Julia was located 40 miles west of San Salvador. Julia is moving toward the west-northwest at 15. That's expected to continue through today. Julia will move near or over the coast of El Salvador and Guatemala today. Maximum sustained winds are about 40 miles an hour with higher gusts. Julia is expected to be a tropical depression by tonight and dissipate tonight or tomorrow. The estimated pressure is 1,000 millibars. Of course, you're going to have wind on the coast, all up and down the coast. Rainfall amounts from the event. It's been a fairly heavy rainfall event throughout its existence. El Salvador and southern Guatemala should get up to 15 inches. Western Honduras and the Isthmus of Tehuantepec, Mexico, up to 10 inches. Belize, the remainder of Honduras and northern Guatemala, up to 10 inches. Nicaragua, up to 15 inches. Yucatan Peninsula, even, up to 6 inches. Of course, the rainfall may cause flash flooding and mudslides across much of Central America today. And flash flooding is anticipated in the Isthmus of Tehuantepec through tomorrow. And this is, well, they're not officially saying it, is probably because of a good bit of the rains from Julia as it passed by, but a big landslide in Venezuela yesterday killed 25 people, left more than 50 missing on the north central state of Uruguay. The landslide came down in Santos Michelena municipality after days of heavy rainfall caused 5 streams of Las Torrellas River to overflow. Speaking of rivers overflowing, we've talked before about rivers not overflowing in Europe. Well, we got a similar problem now in the Mississippi. The Viking Mississippi, the newest ship in Viking's river cruise fleet, has had to cancel midway through her current voyage to regional drought, resulting in low water levels. It's unknown whether the ship's next sailing will be also affected. The ship is currently unable to reach the scheduled departure in St. Paul. Last Monday, the ship was halted when a nearby barge became grounded on sandbars and other vessels were unable to move. That stopped the Viking Mississippi for about 24 hours. Then on Thursday, the 6th, the ship crossed into Arkansas. Guests were informed that the cruise had to be canceled. Unusually low water levels along the Mississippi have caused sections of the river to be closed, impacting all northbound and southbound shipping traffic, a statement from Viking said. The closures have caused delays that will prevent the Viking Mississippi from completing the sailing underway. The ship docked just north of Greenville, Mississippi, 150 miles south of Memphis on Friday. Guests were debarked from the vessel, were bused 2 hours to Memphis to fly home. So, the Viking Mississippi is the only ship from Viking currently sailing on the Mississippi, and it just started this year. So it's sad that they got to deal with that now. So that's going to affect these next 2 cruises we know of. We don't know after that what's going to happen. Some of you might have seen my post yesterday on my blog about Galveston. Well, the thing that stimulated my thinking on that, the Port of Galveston has been in operations for 20 years, and they've steadily grown. The new Royal Caribbean Cruise Terminal, Carnival Cruise Line's 3rd LNG-powered ship homeporting in Galveston, and the Norwegian Prima have Galveston expecting a record year. Already, they're currently the 4th most popular cruise port in the U.S. The port expects to welcome 362 cruise ships through 2023, bringing more than 1 million cruise passengers to Galveston. Carnival, Disney, Norwegian, Princess, and Royal Caribbean all have ships scheduled to sail during the year. Royal Caribbean will operate 5 ships. Allure of the Seas will sail between January and October. Adventure of the Seas between January and May. Radiance of the Seas between January and April. Voyage of the Seas between May and December. And Harmony of the Seas, November and December. Carnival has 4 ships based in Galveston to start. There will be Carnival Breeze, Carnival Dream, and Carnival Vista. Carnival Jubilee will replace Vista in November. Carnival Jubilee will be the Carnival Cruise Line's 3rd LNG-powered cruise ship and the first to homeport in Galveston. Norwegian will also bring the Norwegian Prima to Galveston for the first time in October. From December 23rd, the ship will use Galveston as its home port. Both Disney and Princess have seasonal cruises scheduled. Disney Magic and Ruby Princess will operate between January and April, with Regal Princess sailing from Galveston in November and December. One issue that Galveston has, and to be perfectly transparent, it's concerning how you get from the airports to Galveston. It just doesn't seem to ever be smooth. It's way more expensive than anybody ever counts on. That's one of the reasons that I drove the last time I sailed out of Galveston. Of course, that's balanced by the fact that with the populations in Houston, Austin, Fort Worth, Dallas, Oklahoma City, and Little Rock, more than 30 million people live in close proximity to Galveston. It's going to be a good year for Galveston. I'm hoping to do another couple cruises out of Galveston during the year. All right. Excuse me. Got to talk about the Prima. Norwegian Cruise Line now has its own gin and beer, with the 66 brand debuting on the Norwegian Prima. Named after the company's founding in 1966, the 66 brand gin is available on board at the Metropolitan Bar, which features sustainable drinks. The gin comes from Nicaragua, where it's said to be distilled in a sustainable fashion using renewable energy, according to Louis Artega, the Director of Beverage Development and Operations for Norwegian Cruise Line. Located on Deck 8 aft, guests can find the company's new beer, also called 66, on draft in the Soleil Bar, located just behind the Indulge Food Hall concept. The beer is relatively light with a citrus flavor and is brewed by Terrapin Beer Company in Athens, Georgia. Other potential locations for beer and gin include Great Stirrup Key, the line's private island. I have requested an interview with somebody from Norwegian to talk about this. So we'll see who I get, or maybe I don't get them, but we'll find out. All right, the port of Curacao. Oh, by the way, that's the gin, 66 gin to go with the beer. That's not the port of Curacao. Now the port of Curacao picture's gone. Wow, when things go bad for me, they go really bad. So I'll just talk about Curacao. The Curacao Ports Authority is launching a new app for the cruise industry. It's designed to allow those involved in the sector to better plan their operations. The CPA Cruise app is primarily targeted to service providers that cater to cruise passengers. According to the CPA, the new app allows for quick and timely access to useful information with the latest data on the schedule, cruise ship arrivals and departures, and those kind of things. Users will have easy access to details of the vessels, in addition to their berthing locations. Now, this is primarily for vendors and excursion folks and those kind of things. But if this works well, I guarantee you they'll come up with an expanded app for the cruise ship passengers while they're in Curacao. I mean, it's the logical following for that whole concept. That's just my opinion, but I bet you, something we see in the future. All right, let's go back to this silly picture. The global dream, we've talked about that ad nauseum. I'm not going to go into all the details of why the global dream is unfinished. I'll have to a little bit. But anyway, the mega ship, the global dream, set to be the world's biggest by capacity, could be joining Disney Cruise Line. The German news agency NDR reports that Disney Cruise Line has tied up a deal to buy the vessel. However, there's been no official confirmation. According to plans by insolvency administrator Christopher Morgan for MV Werften, the Megalina will apparently be completed in Wismar under the leadership of the Meyer Shipyard in Papenburg. It could be sailing by the end of 2024. Constructed for the Asian market, Global Dream was commissioned by Genting Hong Kong and its Dream Cruises brand with the price tag of $1.8 billion. Carnival's not going to pay near that. I guarantee it. Disney recently took delivery of the Disney Wish, which is about a 4,000 passenger ship. So, man, this is going to be twice the size. I wonder how many Mickey Mouses they have to have on board an 8,000 passenger ship. Oy. All right. That wraps up the news portion of today. Of course, I'm going to have to go through and edit the dead space out. Wow, what a disaster. It's the second time in, about 2 weeks that I've done that? And I'm not sure how I'm doing it. That's the thing that bothers me. Kenneth's with us. Nikki's here. Carol's here. Cindy's here. Hi, y'all. Gretchen's here. Of course, Hot Air Tom, he's the one that called me to tip me off. He's back in the office today. Cindy was on Ecstasy in 2015 with the Property Brothers. Was looking a little rough back then, but I always liked the fantasy class ships. Of course, it was refurbished after that. So it's not near as rough as it was back in 2015. Hey, gang, hope everyone is okay. Hi, Emily. Funny you mention about the river cruises. My phone just did an advertisement for river cruises along the Mississippi. Wow. Hot Air says he did it again. Robert Lamb's with us. Good morning, everybody. Emily says, yep. Uh-oh, no sound now. So I started off with sound and then cut it off. Is that what happened? We can't hear you. Chillie, are you there? Good morning, Chillie. Mike says, hi, Mike. Chillie's working on it. That was when Hot Air Tom called me. Is there any stream? Emily says, yes, I hear you now. Okay, finally. My apologies, guys. I will get this up eventually. It'll be up as a video without all that mess in it. Of course, who knows how many people will go to it, and so I'll need to put up a note on the live stream. Marissa Furfora was with us. Hi, Marissa. Good to have you with us. Chillie's Cruises, the weather was fine. Started a minute before I called you. Just started a minute before. So it was just through to the weather. That's interesting. What did I do in the weather that would have caused me to lose that? I may have sipped and muted myself to cough and didn't unmute myself, or at least thought I had unmuted myself and didn't. Just cut off when you put the pick up. We could hear you before that. Okay, I see. You muted when you coughed and it wasn't 20 minutes. Okay, thank you, Nikki. All right, so I won't have as bad a job of, but then I went back and I don't know what I'll do. I'll fix it somehow. Global Dream, laugh out now. They will spend a fortune to bring it up to Western emission standards. Maybe a good ship for housing the immigrants in New York. Eddie's with us. Yo, yo, yo. Brooklyn in the house. Says, good morning, everybody. Chillie, just like a football game, you get overtime today from your show. Yeah, isn't that the truth? Everybody says, yo, Eddie. Prima beer, nothing available on our transatlantic. It was not loaded yet. Okay. Now, I understand, now this comes from another source, that they seem to see some gin on their ships, more gin than normal. I'm just wondering if they're going to expand that to other ships in the fleet. Just saying. Or maybe they were trying to get rid of gin that's left on the Prima to replace it with their own gin. I don't know. All right, guys. That's going to wrap me up for today. I got a ton of editing to do to fix this mess. However I do it, I don't know. So it would have been better off not to restart it all over again, just to start back up from there. But oh well. Okay, guys. That's going to wrap it up for today. If you're new to this channel, I apologize for the screw ups. As always, we appreciate the thumbs up. Let me invite you to subscribe. Hit the bell notification so you'll know when I go live or when a new video is up. And I'm posting a couple videos a day now, working on trying to get the subscriber count up, to get my TikTok up, and to get my Instagram up. So I'm doing quite a bit of that now. So anyway, that's going to continue on until I leave for this next batch of cruises, which is coming up soon. All right, that's going to wrap me up for today. As always, guys, stay safe, stay healthy. Think about cruising. And hopefully one day soon we'll all get together on the high seas. This is the old fat travel guide with these ongoing audio issues. Later, y'all.
I regularly post videos on all facets of the travel and cruise industry. So if you like to keep up with the latest in cruise ships, ports of call, cruises themselves, Chillie Chats, and travel and cruise industry news, just hit the little subscribe button in the lower right-hand corner. Hit the bell notification so you'll be notified when a new video is up or we go live. This video was produced by Chillie's Cruises.